So Rebecca, we were just getting started. I was going to introduce myself a little bit and then have everybody kind of go around. My name is Jennifer Rubenstein. I am the director of the Louisville Independent Business Alliance, and I have been on the board of the American Independent Business Alliance for quite some time. And one of my roles in that capacity has always been kind of member engagement. So meaning, the IBAs that are members, kind of staying connected, building this community of people that can look to each other and that can help each other grow. So it's much better to have people you can call on than going it alone. So out of that was kind of grew this local leaders roundtable, and we have had folks be, we have had programming like this in the past, but we've kind of formalized it a little bit more. Started out, early in the pandemic, just realizing that a lot of us were in similar boats, and we had been meeting for our conference and found that this committee meeting had turned into just kind of a support session almost, and just really finding out what other people were doing, what was going on in their cities. It was really, we were glad to be getting together every week. So, from that kind of did a few one-off type of calls, just like let's get together type of thing, and then kind of put it into a little bit more formal type of scheduled event. And actually, Rebecca, do you want to kind of sum up a little bit kind of our three-prong process? Because I want to give credit where it's due. Rebecca really kind of formalized that into kind of the way we're structuring it.
Sure, thank you. I'm Rebecca Melanson, and I was the co-founder and director of the Austin Independent Business Alliance for about 20 years. And I'm so glad to see Dixie with us today, because Dixie is taking over the helm at AIBA. Now I serve on the board of AMIBA, so that's why I'm so involved in this. And I also run the Local Business Institute. But today I'm wearing the AMIBA board hat, so I have my, whoops, wrong side. I have my logo up here in the background. When we were thinking about redoing this and looking at how to be useful to y'all, because that's the whole point, is we were looking at what do you need, and we certainly want to always hear from you, but we looked at 3 different types of discussions. One is called the local hive, which is what today is, and that's where there's not a presentation, but it's hearing from all of y'all, because the most valuable thing that we have to offer is the community. It's all of us in a community. And I know when I was a IBA leader, it was so easy to feel isolated and alone. We're all in our cities kind of by ourselves, but you're not alone. And that's the point of having these meetings monthly, is that you are duplicated all over the country. And so use each other as a resource. Use each other for ideas. I always did when I was director of AIBA. Oh my God, just to hear everybody's ideas and what they were doing and what worked and what didn't work. And I know Jennifer and I talked about so much, because it's somebody that you can call up and say, hey, I see that you did that. What worked and what didn't? And you will hear, oh my God, don't ever do this. It was a nightmare. Or this was amazing, but here's what we would do different. That kind of information is invaluable to every single one of you. So I hope that you recognize what this group is and do that. So going from local hive, we're also doing nuts and bolts, because, right, we're kind of reinventing the wheel out there a lot, and there's no need to do that. Nuts and bolts, which will be next month, talks about how to do something specifically. So we'll teach you, show you, help you understand exactly how something works. The first nuts and bolts is very exciting, because it's about how to take things online that you would have never thought could be online. And we have a great panel for that. That includes Jennifer and Colin. He's on the call too, I believe. And then the third category, which we'll have in the 3rd month, is what's new at AIBA. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. What's new at AMIBA? I'm not wearing my right hat. Because it's a new day at AMIBA, and with a relatively new director, we have great direction. We're doing all kinds of new things, but how does that help you if you don't know what we're doing? And so we'll spend one local leaders roundtable a month talking about what AMIBA has to offer you and how to take advantage of it.
Thank you. So that's kind of our schedule moving forward. These will always be the third Thursday of the month, whatever Thursday this is. There you go, second.
Second Thursday.
So, and I'm excited to get to know more people as well across the country. You know, I've been on the board a lot, so I talk to a lot of the same. When I say IBA leaders, I mean any local group, any group of local businesses. So don't feel left out if you're a chamber or, you know, name something different. IBA just stands for Independent Business Alliance, and that happens to be what a lot of our organizations are named. But so that's why we called it Local Leaders Roundtable instead of Local IBA Leaders Roundtable. And so I'm interested to get to know widening that circle of folks that I can connect with, and that you will be too. So I thought we'd go around and do one round of introductions where we just say who we are, you know, what city we're in, your position, if you have staff, how many staff, if your number of members, and kind of how long you've been in existence. That's a lot of different things. But just a little summary of where you are with your group and what you're, you know, who you are. And then we'll go around again, and we just want to hear from everybody about, you know, something that they've been happy with, that they've done during the pandemic, something that that maybe they weren't so happy with that they did during the pandemic, kind of what you need, what you want, where other people can help you and where you can offer help. So let's start out. I'm going to call out from my screen here. So let's start with Lawrence Grown. And I don't think your name is Lawrence.
No, it's Lawrence. And hi, and nice to hear your voice in Louisville. We grew up in Ohio and went to architecture school in Cincinnati. So yeah, hi. So and that really is my last name too. So in Berkeley, there was a group called Buy Local Berkeley that was started maybe 2008-ish. That went for a while, but now is somewhat defunct. And I started an offshoot called the West Berkeley Design Loop, which is all about, it's an industry group, all about locally owned home improvement merchants. And then we added architects, contractors, and designers.
That's right. We have talked before, and I get confused because your name is Lawrence Grown, and there is an Oakland Grown, right? Or
there's an Oakland Grown. Well, there was an Oakland Grown also, but I think that one has died also. I'm not, or it's modified, and I'm not sure what they're doing right now. So we put out a monthly newsletter to the kind of mostly the industry, the home improvement industry. Oh, I also wanted to say though that Berkeley has, through the Office of Economic Development, a number of programs that used to be through Buy Local Berkeley and now are mostly run through the Chamber and Visit Berkeley. And there's a network called the Berkeley Business District Network. There are maybe 10 different business districts in Berkeley, and each has either an executive director or just a person who's the representative, depending if they're a bid or more of an informal group. But we get together every other month, now by Zoom, and talk about what each district is doing. And so that's also been our own little hive that's been really helpful.
Nice.
And so is that enough for the moment, or should I talk more about what we're doing?
I think that's enough for the moment. Are you paid staff then through your organization, or? So
we're a paid membership group, and I get paid just hourly, and I have one staff person who gets paid hourly.
Awesome.
I also want to say I have to go to an appointment at 11, so I will have to leave early.
Oh, okay, sure. Thanks for letting us know.
Yeah.
Niraja, am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, my name is Nirja. I am a Wellesley College student. I am currently in Arlington, Massachusetts. and I'm actually a research assistant for Professor Catherine Turco at MIT. And so she's studying small businesses right now, and we're just trying to keep up with the situation. I worked at a small business in Harvard Square for 2 years before the pandemic, and I'm technically I'm still on their payroll, so I can go in. I'm going in a couple of weeks, but yeah, so I have some personal experience working at 2 small businesses actually, and yeah, so I'm mostly just an observer, so I'll probably have my camera off because my internet is also not great.
Okay.
Do you have any
Well, thanks for
questions for
joining
me
us.
or anything? I'm more than happy to answer.
Awesome. Thanks. Well, thanks for being here.
Yeah, of course.
Karen.
Hi, I'm Karen Simpson. I'm from Elk Rapids, Michigan, which is very northern Michigan, near Traverse City, if you know Michigan at all. And I own 2 businesses in downtown, and we don't have a group, but we're looking to start a group. And our biggest issue is trying to get everybody to work together. We have a DDA, but they're not real strong, and the chamber is a little stronger, and then the village government, just really trying to get everybody on the same path, and really not a lot of support during COVID for the downtown businesses, and so that's kind of where we're at.
Okay. And when you say DDA, can you tell me what that is?
It's Downtown Development Authority.
Okay. Awesome.
It's a government organization that is
Sure.
supposed. Oh, I'm sorry.
Ours is the Downtown Development District. So.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, we have a district that the authority is over. So same thing.
Let's see, Emily. Looks like there's more than Emily there too.
Yeah,
Thanks,
hi.
Jen.
So I'm Emily Bell, located in Durango, Colorado, part of Local First La Plata.
Yeah.
So you might know Monique DeGiorgio.
Yes.
She's usually part of the group. So I'm the community programs director, and relatively new to this position and this organization, but previously had worked for Local First Arizona. So I have kind of that foundation, but I'm sort of getting my footing here in Durango.
Sure.
Where we have, we've been, founded, I think 2008, about 250 members. And we've kind of been adapting all of our programs to COVID, which is always a challenge, but so far we've gotten a lot of support from the community and the businesses on that. So we're mostly looking to the future now to try to figure out what the best next steps are in 2021 and how we can keep mitigating the impacts. And then I'll let Lauren introduce herself.
And I'm Lauren. I'm the policy liaison for Local First Durango La Plata.
Okay.
Also originally from Local First Arizona, working in their rural initiatives. So happy to meet you all. Kind of a unique aspect of the Durango mission is that we're also incorporating that triple bottom line of commitment to our equity and our sustainability efforts in town. So prioritizing making sure that our businesses stay afloat through COVID, but then also how do we also engage them in sustainability efforts and this equity force that we're trying to get behind as well.
Nice. That's amazing that you guys are both Local First Arizona to La Plata, and that's amazing. So welcome and nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you too.
Thanks. Marianne, let's hear from you.
Hey y'all, nice to meet everyone. Marianne Miller, I'm the program manager of Stay Local in New Orleans. I'm the sole full-time staff member, but parts of other persons' positions, including Dana Annis, who many of you know, are collectively are combined to run Stay Local. We have about 120 members, and that's been pretty static for a while. I think that's the basics, but yes, I will get more into detail when we loop back around.
Yeah. Dixie.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Dixie Patrick. It's good to see you again, Jennifer. And of course, Rebecca. I am with the Austin Independent Business Alliance. I worked with Rebecca as she was the executive director since 2003. I think we've been around. And I have been in the position of executive director since April. So a very interesting time to try to lead a local business organization, for sure. I think you said something that worked for us and something that didn't. I don't know if I'll answer that question. We did have a, building community.
We can probably start with you. Then we were kind of doing a first round, and then we were going to get into that. But I was actually going to say, why don't you just go ahead into that? So let's do that.
Okay. So yeah, one thing that building community is really challenging, since we usually have, in the past, we have had an amazing community of people who show up and get together, and there's kind of no substitute for like everyone being in the room together. But we did have a member meetup that was on Zoom, and we had one that didn't go particularly well. And then I think as people have gotten more used to the concept of like, this is how we're going to meet each other for a while. The second one was amazing. And like everyone was talking, and it was very much like we were all in a room together. I suggested that they all make cocktails. I was the only one that took my suggestion, but we still had a good, cocktail hour together. So that was a good thing. I don't think that there was anything different that I did between the first one and the second one that made the one kind of awkward and the second one less awkward. I think it was the world is adapting to this is where we are. And so it was just a little less awkward the second time. Everybody showed up. Everybody got on Zoom on their own. Nobody had to do anything. Their all backgrounds were good. So that was a good thing. It was fun to see people again in a social setting. And the cocktail helped, honestly.
Sure. Yeah.
Maybe next time they'll all take the next leap and bring a cocktail.
I know, right? I hope so.
Well, we just had Colin join us. So Colin, why don't we hear from you? We were doing a first round of just kind of introductions of, where you're from, how many members, how long you've been around. And then we were kind of jumping into kind of something that we've done that we thought was great, maybe something that we've done that we didn't think was so great as far as, specific to the pandemic. So I'll let you introduce yourself and just go ahead into anything you've got to share there, and we'll keep our round robin going.
Yes, I'm Colin Murray, Executive Director for Dane Buy Local, Madison, Wisconsin. We have about 600 members here in Madison. We have to date lost 12 businesses to the pandemic. I'm expecting that number will increase, but I feel like it's substantially lower than it would be otherwise because of the big grant program that we have administered. And I know that's a bit of a challenge for other locations. We've been very fortunate to be able to administer that and keep that going. It's looking like we're going to get a second round here at some point as well. So that's good. But we just tried something. It came together in the last 2 weeks that has been amazing, and was fairly simple to put together, that others might be interested in. We call it Soups On. So restaurants in general here in Madison, and I'm guessing it's pretty universal, are having a hard time staying open financially and physically. And soup is a very reasonably inexpensive product for them to make in their kitchen. And there's a high markup on it, right? So the idea was that we have restaurants make one or more of their soups, put it in quart containers, and freeze it, and then bring it over to a central location for a drive-up distribution to the public. So we launched the site yesterday. Orders are due by midnight on Saturday. That gives the restaurants Sunday and Monday to prepare the soup and bring it over on Tuesday to the central location. And then Tuesday afternoon, 4:30 to 6:30, the volunteers will deliver soup to your car. All right. Soup it's not cheap. The cheapest soup we have is $8 a quart, and it goes up to $15 a quart. I was a little concerned about that. Has not been a problem. As of this, and we launched the website yesterday about 10:30 in the morning. By 7 a.m. this morning, we had already sold $2,700 worth of soup.
Wow.
About a third of what we were expecting to sell has already sold in less than 24 hours. And the orders have been coming in all day today. I did send out a press release yesterday, and the CBS station grabbed on it right away. I've got an email here from the newspaper wanting to interview me now. And it really was pretty easy to put together. I just put a call out to the restaurants, had them fill out a Google form telling me what they wanted to make and how much they want to charge. Dane Buy Local's not actually making anything on this, although you could in your market. We're charging $1 to cover our expenses, $1 per quart to cover our expenses. Once we cover our expenses, then all the money's going back to the restaurants. And we're pitching this, and rightfully so. This is a way for the public to help save our restaurants, because some of them are right on the brink. So soup is a high profit margin for them. All they have to do is make it on their off time, package it up and send it over to us. We are doing it frozen so that the sloshing around issue is not there. We'll see how next Tuesday goes, but everybody's very, very excited about it. And I'm amazed at how the orders are just flying in. I'm getting all the orders on my email. So all morning long, my email's been dinging away. So yeah, so far so good.
Colin, that's just an amazing idea. I saw that on Facebook and followed it just a little bit to say, you know, another brilliant idea from the mind of Colin. But I have a couple of questions. So the website for that is a page on the Dane Buy Local site, right?
It
Okay.
is.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a bunch of different people that are all pitching in to help put this together. So I've got them all recognized down at the bottom of the page. But yeah, we had to put it somewhere, so we put it on our homepage and created a page off that.
And are you doing that as just ongoing, as like a once a week pickup?
Yeah. So what we're going to do, because we got the holidays in here, we're dancing around that a little bit. So we're doing this one next Tuesday, which is the 17th. And then our next one will be December 1st, 8th, and 15th. So the first, it's the Tuesday in December. And then we're going to skip the next couple of weeks because of the holidays and start again in January. And then the idea is every Tuesday through March. And then at that point, we'll see how things go. If interest dies off, or the weather gets too warm and people don't want soup anymore, we'll deal with that then. So that's where that's at.
Did you have to get a health permit for that, or? No,
so the distribution is being orchestrated through one of our commercial kitchen members. It's called Feed Kitchens, which Feed is a acronym for, I forget what it stands for. It's an economic development program here in town, and would have been one of the tours that we would have done if we had had the AMIBA conference here. We would have gone over to Feed. It's basically, they have 3 or 4 commercial kitchen setups within this building. They've got a freezer that we can put the soup in. Most of their operations right now are not happening. So they've got lots of space and lots of time, and they're open, but not doing a whole lot. So they're like thrilled to be helping us with this. And they're a member. So they've got all the permits and everything that is necessary to make this happen.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like it.
I have a question. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I don't know if I missed it, but do you tell the, do you communicate to the restaurants how much soup you need, or do you just have them bring you a certain amount of soup?
Yeah, so this was the first time, so we're kind of figuring that out. So what we told them is to assume that they're going to make 40 quarts of soup. But on Saturday night at midnight, when the cutoff happens, we'll send them an email and say, okay, we got orders for 31 quarts. So that's what we need you to make. So we'll tell them how many quarts to make. So there will not be any extra soup. and there'll be no transactions the day of the event. Everything has to be prepaid. So it's as touchless as it can be. We'll have the soup already ready to go. Just hand it to the person, and they're done. So no credit cards, nothing like that. So yeah, so the restaurants will only bring us exactly what we need.
Nice. Well, I think we could probably dive even further into that, but I think in the interest of time, we will hear from some other folks too. But that is awesome, Colin. I wish I had this call before yesterday when I had a restaurant call with restaurants across town, thinking about ideas and all that good stuff. So I might have to get back in front of everybody again. So awesome.
Yeah, these restaurants are just desperate right now. They just.
That's what we got on the call too. And there was just not much that we can do. I mean, it's cold and nobody wants to sit outside. So
right, exactly.
So I think we did have a little bit of productive out of it, but I'm glad to hear of some other ideas too. So I don't have to call. Does anybody else want to volunteer something before I maybe call on a few folks?
Sure. So I think we, first of all, did want to give a big shout out to Dane Buy Local, because over in La Plata County, we were able to work with the county after we heard about the program you did for administering funds. And we've had we were able to administer about $1 million in funding, which is really exciting. We've started getting the emails back from businesses that we've awarded funds to, and people could not be more grateful. So thank you for the inspiration on that and helping us kind of connect the dots there. That's been really exciting for our community.
That's great to hear. I'm glad you were able to put that together. And I got the idea from Local First Arizona. So and Jennifer as well in Louisville. So I can't take credit for it. I just stole the idea from them. So I'm glad you were able to build on that.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows the value of communication like this, where we're all sharing ideas.
And by the way, it's not stealing, it's sharing.
Right. Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about that too. What is the program?
It's through CARES funding. So each county, at least in Colorado, I don't know if it's different for each state, was given a pot of funds that they can then deliver to the business community. So our county tasked our organization with administering those funds. So we put the approval process together and the committee board and all of that. And our internal team is the one communicating with the businesses and kind of the face of the application process. And through that, we, in agreement with the county, receive 10% of all the funds that we administer. So that's also helping us have a flotation fund basically for the next few years, just in case, to kind of mitigate COVID impact internally as well.
Yeah. And then to kind of piggyback off of the Soups On program that you were discussing, we ran a really successful Eat Local month this year, where in the past we've done a big harvest dinner, which is all in person, and it's usually a big fundraiser for us. This year, obviously, that wasn't an option. So what we did instead was adapt it to be entirely gourmet takeout, where we worked with different restaurants and required that they all use local produce in their food. We reimbursed everyone for all of their costs, so that they were getting paid, and we were able to take away some of the fundraising effect, though nothing compared to the past years. But I think it was a really successful way to kind of bridge the gap and get them all back in the kitchen, and show support from the community. So we did that over the course of 4 weeks. We did 4 different Fridays throughout September and October, so that we could kind of, keep that impact going longer than just one big day. So a little bit similar, but I love your idea of bringing that into the winter, because we've been trying to think of how to keep supporting folks when we're in the slow season. So that's really helpful to hear. Thanks for sharing that, Colin.
Yeah.
So is that a ticketed event then? So people buy the meals from you, like as a fundraising ticket, and then that gives them, they can go pick it up from the restaurant. Yes? Or,
Yeah, yes. So and then we would reimburse the restaurant based
Oh.
on the amount that they paid to put together the meal. And it was, I will say, quite a bit of coordination. I like that yours seems like it's streamlined and pretty simple. For us, it was pulling together like an entree, an appetizer, and a dessert for every single week. So I think that your method, especially for this season, makes a lot of sense.
I will also add that we worked a local nonprofit into each week as well. So they received, I believe, a portion of the proceeds and had a webinar component. So everyone that purchased the meal could join us for a conversation about this organization and kind of the impact in the food realm for our community. So trying to expand the impact just beyond the restaurant themselves, but working with our local farms, producers, and nonprofits working in the food realm.
and was it a different one restaurant per week, or was it a multitude of restaurants?
Yeah, different components. So each, we had a drink, an appetizer, dessert, an entree, and each were provided by different partners in the community.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think in the end, it ended up being 11 restaurants total, like 24 farmers were supported through the process. And I believe it was 7 nonprofits as well.
Nice. Very cool. I'm writing all these ideas down. I'm all these restaurant ideas are coming to me a day too late. But thank you all for sharing. That's awesome.
It's never too late. And
That's
we'll be
true.
sending out a follow-up email with these ideas briefly outlined, and then who did it, so you can follow up with that person if you have more questions.
I have a question. We lost both of our coffee shops, and I'm obviously live in a small town, and we feel that you have to have a coffee shop in your community. That's where we always met, and met different people and had meetings, and it's just sort of the hub of the community. And any thoughts or ideas about coffee shops and how to get that kind of going again?
Have you thought about trying a co-op model? Maybe. I don't really have a lot of experience with it, but we, like a lot of towns, have a food desert, and we don't have very many co-ops in Louisville. In fact, I don't really know of any. We do have some employee-owned companies, but there are some other cities that are stronger in that, and that could potentially be a way, if you have enough community stakeholders that feel like we need a coffee shop and are willing to put up, a certain amount of money. As long as you have the talent to manage it, like maybe if you found somebody that had worked at the coffee shop before, that, I don't know.
I would also say if you have because unfortunately things have closed, if you have a vacant space, that could be a launch pad for an entity that ultimately could be a standalone coffee shop, but it wasn't a coffee shop before. And another offshoot of that would be a mixed use space where a coffee shop could be shoehorned into it, because it doesn't necessarily, I'm guessing, need the same kitchen permit and kitchen, there's like a basic. So when bars had to close here in New Orleans, there was a quick effort by ourselves and some other partners and the city of New Orleans permit-wise to basically say, like, you don't have a full kitchen, you're a restaurant now, because that gave them the opportunity to sell things that they weren't going to be able to sell if they were just a bar. So something where maybe there could be a mixed-use space that has a vacant commercial space that could be popped up into as the coffee shop, which, ultimately when things got better, it could be a standalone coffee shop.
Also wondering if they sell their grounds, and if they're not able to have their full operation going, if they can have other partners in the community sell products for them to give them a little bit of a financial base to be able to combat, if there is another wave of relief funding, maybe that can help them with staffing costs. And
both places are just sitting there vacant. So,
It also might help if there's an existing business, like we have a bookstore with a coffee shop in it. That's pretty common. If that's the case, it could help both the businesses be a little more sustainable, at least during this time. If a coffee shop came in and could have a corner or a back space or something, that would add a little bit of additional rent payments to the existing retailer and provide what you're talking about. But a co-op is a great long-term idea too.
I really would like to see more co-ops in Louisville. So I'm kind of part of a group that's playing with that.
So I'm gonna step in here for a sec because I have
yeah.
to leave.
I'm sorry.
But maybe Jennifer, send me a note. I'll just send you a few links of things that are being tried locally. And I can't say that anything's been super successful already, but there are a number of initiatives happening that might be interesting that could be taken up. So I'll send you links to share, and I look forward to seeing you all at the next meeting.
Absolutely, and I apologize.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you. I meant to have you come on earlier, and I just forgot to wedge you in there. But
no problem at all.
Thanks for being part of it, and we'll share that with everyone.
Sounds great. Okay.
Thank you.
I can toss something out there next.
Yeah.
One of our most successful elements to the response has been picking up on the need that people have for a directory, some sort of place that they can go as consumers, which we already had. And then the downside, and I'm not going to return to this, so I'm just going to do plus and minus now. The downside is just the drop in membership renewals. So that's putting us in a position where we're going to look for other types of funding sources. And that's a great long-term thing to diversify your funding, because then when the memberships come back, we'll just have more money. So the State Local Directory of Certified Independent Businesses has been around as long as the organization, which I skipped earlier, which is 15 years. But more recently, and it's based off Wild Apricot, we added the Wild Apricot Maps element. So it's searchable and mappable. And that's not something all directories have. And many of us saw the immediate response in March and April and May of Yelp Map, Google Map, this is the stuff that's open. So we just took what we already had and we closed down everything that we didn't know was open, and we created a map that was just what was open. So something that people were building from the ground up, all we had to do was just actually add a filter and take everything away. And then we've added it back in. And after we've added it back in, as the reopening has been phased, we also started offering standalone directories to people. So to entities. So if you're a merchants association in a neighborhood, you can just have a directory that doesn't not look like our directory, but doesn't include things outside of your neighborhood, if that's what you want. So we started a fee for service, that we're the consultants that are the intermediaries with the Wild Apricot's map designer that just create these for people. So we're charging $500. It's costing us no more than $350. And we can, the other nice thing is we can do them as much as we want. It can be Hispanic owned, it can be, so, but in the course of all of that, we also added Black owned as a filter, which we'd never had, to the whole directory. So now the whole directory is back up, and it's not just what's open for pickup, where can I order online. We added, so when we replenished the full directory, we added Black owned as a filter, which we've never done before. And we had some conversations about, well, what if we ever want to filter? What if we want veterans owned in the future? Going through the conversation of it, we found out it was nothing to add Black owned as a filter. And then it was more about getting the message out to people. So that is something that we're facing now with the holidays, is tying back into that interest that consumers had of, I want to know who owns the business, tying that back into the holiday message of like, if Black owned was your priority a few months ago, we're still here, we still have that information. If that's if that is the appeal, but we've never separated that out from our other message. It's always been a layer on top.
Marianne, when you do that, but did you collect that information on members when they joined? So did you already have all this information? You're just using it as different filters, or did you have to go out and get that information from them?
Interestingly, we collected minority, not Black. So we had that information to a degree, and we didn't want to make assumptions. So yes, we emailed all those contacts are in Wild Apricot. We emailed everyone back. This is what we're doing. Just, reply yes, no. And then it helps when there's another really strong following for something called Where Black Noli Eats. And we can say to that group, you're already sending out messaging to business owners in that sector. If you want to accept, the responsibility for consent from each of them to be added to the Stay Local directory, all I would need is a spreadsheet. I literally can just ask Where Black Noli Eats, send me a spreadsheet, one click, it's in.
That's awesome.
Well, I think I will build on that for my contribution to the conversation too, unless there are other questions too for Marianne. Awesome. Well, I love to hear about that too, because we use Wild Apricot as well. So I haven't gotten into the maps much yet though. So that's something that we have yet to explore. But we did a similar thing with the Black owned businesses, have a Black owned directory. So our thing, and I guess it's not a proven success yet, but it's been very well received thus far. We are building a multi-vendor e-commerce platform. I think we had talked to various folks that were putting together some similar things, and I do also have other products to recommend. Like I really liked, I can't think of the name of it now, but it was meant to kind of mimic a walk along Main Street, so you could kind of go in and what I liked about that product was it was very turnkey. So especially for organizations that don't have the staff capacity, et cetera, I think that is a great alternative there. But what we ultimately ended up doing was going with a multi-vendor plugin to a Shopify account. So we started a Shopify account, and we have this plugin, and we are paying a developer to help us flesh it out. But basically, we'll have as many members as we want on it, and they can put as many products as they want on it. Although we're asking them to start out with 5 to 10 products as we're entering the testing phase, and people can go on the site and they will be able to search by neighborhood, or they can search by product category. These are all things that the vendors will tag when they enter them into the system. And they can also shop through collections. So people can, when they add their products into them, there are collections like locally made or $25 and under gifts, or we also have a Black owned business collection. And then the idea being that consumers can go to this website and shop from many of our members and pay for it all in one transaction, which I think is going to be very cool. They will, right? I had hoped to have all 3 fulfillment options of shipping, local delivery, and curbside, but I can't have all 3 apparently. So things you learn when you get into the weeds. But we're going to offer local delivery and curbside. A lot of our members are offering local delivery right now. Our audience is Louisvillians. Hopefully, maybe one day we'll figure out a way to get the shipping on there as well. But got a big sponsorship from our from the Louisville Water Company. It's an independently owned utility, which is kind of rare these days. And so diving in on digital marketing, search engine optimization, all that good stuff that I've not really done before, frankly. But but our members are excited about it, and we'll be kind of launching on Cyber Monday.
Jen, I know that Arizona just launched their online marketplace for their members. Did they use the same thing, or did they use something different?
We have talked about it. They did a WordPress site with a WooCommerce plugin, which is another pretty common, like Shopify and WooCommerce are fairly. And we had looked at that as well, but WooCommerce requires a lot more programming in general, like long term. So we decided we felt like it would be more manageable for us to do it this way. So
this is starting to sound like we might ought to have a local leaders roundtable on just that online marketplace for members, because there are different options. I don't know of anybody else doing that except for you in Arizona. So maybe there's somebody else working on it even from a different angle. But if it's relatively inexpensive and relatively easy to do, that's a huge boost to members and a huge membership draw too. So
there is someone that has approached me multiple times, and I did have a call with him. So I'll provide that to y'all, because
That's Jack, probably.
Jack.
From Stay Local.
It's out west. It's like in Oregon.
DEA is the name of their company. Yeah.
Bend. Isn't it in Bend?
Bend, yeah, Bend, Oregon.
Like fly fishing in Bend is on my bucket list. I was think about him fly fishing. He's probably not fly fishing. Thank you.
So, Jennifer, I know that you had spoken to Jack, is who I'm talking about, and I'm saying the name of his organization wrong, but it won't come to me right now.
Yeah, it's something like Shop Local or something generic, so it's hard to remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, they have a design firm also.
Yeah, and they kind of do what you're talking about. They do all that for you. One thing that is interesting about their platform is that it just goes to the company. It goes to, so if you're going to buy soap from, South Austin Soap Company, and you see it on it just goes to their e-commerce site. So you're not setting up your own e-commerce site. What
I liked about theirs was that it was, it was very straightforward and easy to implement. So if folks wanted, something that, like I said, again, staff capacity would be a big, thing. But ultimately decided we were going to take it a level higher so that, we would have all of that within our site. And also 1% of the sales will benefit LLRT. And then the retailers, still don't have to pay, to be part of it. They just need to be a member of LLRT.
So how do you do order fulfillment?
The order fulfillment takes place on the vendor side, but like let's say I buy socks from vendor A and a plant from vendor B, I pay for that all in one transaction, and I select I want curbside for vendor A, but I want delivery for vendor B. Those vendors get their email, and then they prepare on their ends however they're going to prepare. They either get the curbside order ready or they put it out for delivery, and the money goes right into their account. Like it doesn't pass through me or anything like that. It goes there.
Interesting. I'm excited to see how that turns out for you. I want to talk to you when it's all.
Yeah, I'm excited too to
all
see
done,
how it turns out. I have fingers crossed, because we're really building the plane, while we are on the runway.
Absolutely. So. Thanks for sharing.
Sure.
That's awesome that there are at least 3 we've heard about on this call, maybe 4 different systems and ways of navigating that.
There are more. I went down the rabbit hole and looking at it, and that's one of the reasons why we started on it so late, because at first I thought, I did plan on doing Jack's model, and then because I do still think it looks great, and it's it's very doable for an organization. But then I had a local company that was doing some development, and then there's also a company that's been doing it for malls. They've been scraping all the products from each retailer in the mall and putting it onto one mall website. I didn't know what scraping was before. Now I do. And then, so there were these multiple options. And then when I was having this call with my retailers to say, which one do you think we should go with? One of them was like, well, do you know that there's a multi-vendor plugin for Shopify? And I was like, well, no, I didn't. So then we had to go down that road. But I think it will all be worth it, and but it's not. It is an investment, certainly, of time and money. So I'm hoping that our experiment is successful and we can replicate it across, the country, and that we can compare Arizona's and ours, and I'm kind of glad that they're doing a different method, and then we can kind of see what's the advantages of both, what's the best fit for your organization, kind of thing. So
Right.
I'm hopeful.
I think that sounds like a nuts and bolts local leader roundtable.
After we see if it works.
It is like a huge advantage that you have is that you are going with local vendors. So that was one of the big things about not just signing up right away with Jack and Sarah is there somebody here, like, can I drink my own Kool-Aid, right? Like, is there someone here who can do this for me? Sorry, the dog had an issue over there. And like, what exactly is it that I'm asking for? Especially in the Jack model, it's like, can you just do everything for me?
Yeah.
Like, can you create everything for me and also brand it and also skin it to my brand?
Yes. That was the huge advantage for Jack.
Yeah.
Well, I know we're getting a little short on time here too. And I always lose track of time when I'm talking. So sorry if I went too long.
Not at all. We have a few more minutes, but tonight, I really do want to,
Yes.
We've relaunched the Local Leaders Roundtable. And this has been awesome because look at all the ideas that everybody's heard just from this one conversation. And that's the value of the community at large. And next month on December 10th, we have our first Local Leaders Roundtable Nuts and Bolts segment. And we have 3 terrific speakers. We have Jennifer and Colin, who are on this call, and Darren Peterson. And we are talking about how to take events that you would never have thought about doing online. And Darren is somebody that y'all probably don't know. He helped AMIBA with our recent AMIBA conference online. And the thing that he's going to bring to the table is more how to think about this. I love that we've got some great practical experience. But the thing that AMIBA looked at is really, Dixie, what you talked about in the beginning was we're all missing that connectivity. But how close can we get? Like, how can we make the online conference not just deliver the information or have the focus groups or the segments, but how do we recreate the feel of an in-person event online? So Darren's going to talk about that a little bit at our next Local Leaders Roundtable, and I hope to see you all there again. Mm-hmm. So Jennifer, take it away.
Well, to wrap up, I think if everyone's okay with sharing information, we will kind of trade emails, or I think, Rebecca, our plan is to send out kind of some notes about this to the attendees, right, and also, of course, to AMIBA staff. And I'm happy to share, everyone's emails and phone numbers, if that's okay, just so that we can stay connected. We have a further question about any project that any of us have mentioned. I think that's another way to keep building our community and, pollinating our communities from our hive here, our little happy accident name. And I think